session.
Yes.
I'm trying to get a session where I can get you and Caroline on the same call, because that will be fun.
Has Caroline done hers?
Caroline, yeah, she just did hers 2 weeks ago, I think it was, 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was quite lively in a good way. So I'm hoping to one day maybe maybe get you guys on a call together. There's a fun bantering between you both I really enjoy seeing. Yeah.
We'll have to charge money for that. Self-ticket.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I introduced Nate, oh sorry, move on.
No, go for it.
I was gonna say when I introduced Nate to Carolyn, I told them in advance, like, this might be a little bit more of an open meeting than you're used to. And after about an hour, he left like clenched over, like holding his stomach from all of the laughing pains.
She's pretty special. She's pretty awesome. Well, John, hey, thank you so much again for your time. As I was mentioning earlier, this is our 5th roundtable with you all. Every time we have a session, I learn more and more. And so without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to our Batch 5 teams. Your teams have been very, very much invested in connecting with a number of our teams. In fact, we just had a great session with Stakes a few minutes ago, and they were mentioning some great conversations they had with your group. So with that, I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself. I know you have a few slides to talk a little bit about what T-Mobile's been up to as recently, and then we'll jump into some Q&A.
Great, thank you, and to the cohort number 5, welcome. And we have big expectations. Jim tells me that this is the strongest cohort ever. So looking forward to interactions and discussions with you. I'm John Saur. I run advanced and emerging technologies at T-Mobile, which really means that we're always looking for the next big thing that runs on the 5G network. Essentially, working with innovators and developers and startups, and we have a number of programs. The biggest one is probably the Open Innovation Lab with Jim to basically encourage more innovation and more use of our 5G network. What we bring to the table is simple. We bring the biggest 5G network and the best performing 5G network today, and for you to innovate on and take your business to the next level. And we really look forward to working with you on this. Before I walk through some introductory charts, I'd like to introduce the folks in the room here. Rick Valakir on my right here, or I guess on my left on the screen, has been working with the Open Innovation Lab even before the formal founding of it, even before the close of the merger between Sprint and T-Mobile. So he has been a huge forcing inspiration behind the Open Innovation Lab, working closely with Jim and his team. On my left here is Craig Schieber. Craig is based in Kansas City. He's part of my Advanced and Emerging Technology team. And he's probably the guy that if you don't know who else to contact at T-Mobile, get a hold of Craig. He has a cute Rolodex of who the key folks are, how things get done. I think we have Christina on the call as well. Christina, you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, good morning. Yep, I'm just unmuted. Good morning, everyone. Happy to be here this morning and hear the presentation. We are looking forward to an excellent Batch 5.
Great. Anybody else from T-Mobile on the call? Is Larry on?
We've got a couple people. We've got Michael Busby. I think I saw Lyle Pakowski. Maybe Durga's on the call.
Okay.
Prather. So we've got a good cohort from T-Mobile.
Right, so maybe too many to introduce. Those are the more important people, actually, that you should really get to meet. But I'm sure you'll meet them as your mentors and as sponsors as well as interactors. So I'll let them introduce themselves when they get a chance as they work with you. I'd like to walk you through a few slides as to introduce T-Mobile and T-Mobile Network and what we are about. And then actually have a quick highlight video that shows some of the work we have done with some of the Open Innovation Lab alumni. So the first one is that we're spending $40 billion. That's a lot of money building a what I think is going to be the best and largest 5G network in this country. And when you invest so much money in a network, we have to figure out all the use cases and all the innovation that can happen with this network. I've involved in every G in wireless: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5G. 5G is the first G designed from the ground up to help transform businesses, because it has all the capabilities that businesses would need to transform their business. Low latency, high density capability, right? You can do things like edge compute and network slicing. So lots of potential there. But we don't have all the best ideas in the world. That's why we're dependent on you, the startups and collaborators to work with us on this. Today, our network covers more than 310 million people, over 1.7 million square miles. That is actually 2 times bigger than AT&T's 5G network and 5 times bigger than Verizon's network. So our 5G network is bigger than AT&T and Verizon's 5G networks combined. Using the mid-band spectrum, we already covered 210 million people. We use 600 megahertz for low band, and that gives us basically the good coverage we have in all 50 states and Puerto Rico. We also launched the first standalone 5G core. Most 5G networks today in the world is launched using an LTE core. We have done it a little bit differently. We have launched both, one that is based on LTE core, but also an increasingly number of our sites are now connected to a 5G core. Standalone 5G is going to be needed if you really want to experience the true benefits of 5G, low latency capability, slicing capability of the future, right? And so sooner or later, operators have to cut the apron strings to LTE, and we are starting to do that already. But why is that important for all innovators and startups? It just means that you really get to benefit from the true capabilities of 5G as you work with us to improve your designs and products on a standalone 5G network. Go to the next page. I'm not going to dwell too long on this. Basically, to be a successful 5G operator, you need 3 types of spectrum: low band spectrum for coverage, especially in the rural markets. Mid band is the Goldilocks of spectrum for 5G. It gives us sufficient coverage and much higher capacity. And at T-Mobile, we use a 2.5 gigahertz band. And then for areas where you really need a lot of density in a hot zone or hotspot, then we use millimeter wave, mostly in stadiums, in private networks, in places where you really want to replace a fiber cable. And T-Mobile is the only operator that actually builds our 5G network using all 3 layers of this layered cake. The competition has started their 5G build using millimeter wave because that's the only unused spectrum that they have that is not used for LTE. Recently, both AT&T and Verizon spent upwards of $90 billion investing on what they call mid-band spectrum in a C block. So they're starting to build out the mid-band spectrum. In the meantime, our mid-band coverage already covers more than 210 million people. So we're way ahead of the competition. And that's why we can talk about having the biggest 5G network. Because of our strength in spectrum, and primarily because of the merger between Sprint and T-Mobile, since we have such compatible spectrum, I think that we're going to be the 5G leader throughout the entire 5G era. I don't see them ever catching up. Even with the C-band spectrum fully deployed, they will not have sufficient capacity or coverage to catch up with T-Mobile. Next page.
While he rarely admits it, John Saw is the guy who a decade ahead came out and advocated for buying that mid-band spectrum, which is now the core of why 5G works.
Yes,
it doesn't get enough credit for it, as far as I'm concerned.
That's a past in my life that I like to forget sometimes, but it was a labor of love over many, many years. But it's good to see mid-band becoming essentially the workhorse band for 5G spectrum globally. Third-party benchmarks, again, I'm not going to dwell on this. If you look at basically third-party benchmarks from Ookla, Umlaut, or OpenSignal, it all shows the same message, that T-Mobile has either the fastest 5G network, or the most consistent, or the largest footprint. So the third-party benchmarks are actually showing the fruits of our deployment labor the last 2 years. And off is our chief network officer, and he has done a great job actually deploying 5G, especially in the mid-band, to the scale that we have today. And it shows in all the third-party benchmark results. Go to the next page. So with such a big and expensive network that we are building, what can we use 5G for? And like I said, 5G is the first G designed from the ground up to help transform businesses. And if you look at, whether it's to enhance fan experiences for entertainment, retail, 5G gives you basically, a better immersive experience, like in entertainment, better autonomous control. We have talked about artificial intelligence, machine learning. All these concepts have been around for a while. In the past, however, it's hard to get AI and machine learning closest to where you need them. And with 5G, you eliminate the fiber cables. You can actually get AI fed to your sensors or machines or robots down on the shop floor, or right up to places where you need a lot of bandwidth in real time. Cloud robotics is another area. Remote treatment and monitoring for healthcare is something that's very promising with 5G. So these are just some examples, and obviously I'm preaching to the choir here. And with Cohort 5, I'm sure each of you are working on a business model or a solution that would actually take us to a lot of applications using 5G that we have not even thought about yet. And a good example I like to bring up is LTE. LTE is actually a very generic data layer, but look at what LTE has spawned in this country. It has opened up new business models and companies like Uber and Snapchat has thrived because we've built a strong 5G network in this country. Imagine what 5G can do for us in each of these verticals here. I just cannot wait to see what 5G can do to disrupt all these verticals. Next chart. So recognizing this and recognizing that we need to build something bigger than ourselves, T-Mobile has invested in a lot of innovation programs, and really the motivation is to make it simpler and easier for startups and developers and creators to work with us. We know how hard it is to work with big companies, and you don't even know who to call, and that's why we love the vision that Jim put together for the Open Innovation Lab, bringing in some strong partners like Microsoft, Intel, Amdocs, NASA, ourselves, right? And we bring our strength, right, and make it easier for startups to work with us. The T-Mobile Accelerator is the corporate accelerator, and we basically bring in startups for 90 days based on certain themes. For instance, in the last 2 years, we've brought in startups based on themes on immersive technology, on wearables. And most recently, we have partnered with Qualcomm actually to use the T-Mobile Accelerator to bring in some new ideas and some new creators to develop capabilities, games, applications for the next generation of consumer smart glasses. This is Snapdragon Spaces that we're working with Qualcomm with. T-Mobile Ventures is our multi-year early growth fund to fund startups that is promising, who could use some injection of cash to take the business to the next level. And we would love for each of the Cohort 5, if you're looking for funding, to get in touch with us or with Rick, and see if we can help you out in that area as well. What else do we have?
Edge.
Oh yeah, before I show you the video, recently the technology folks in my team worked closely with network technology to create what we call the 5G Edge Sandbox. It's a Kubernetes cloud running on top of VMware, and it will bring you as close as we can to the T-Mobile's core network. Allow you to run your applications and see how good it is when you are close to right at our edge. We expect that you will have better mobile applications because nobody's going to be closer to a T-Mobile mobile phone and customer than our edge. So we'd like you to try that if you're interested in doing this. I guess the best person to reach out to is Rick. I think we did send Rick. You did send them a note on this, and if you're interested, and please do apply. We'd like to learn from you and with you as well as we make this available to our startups. We're not going to charge you any money for this, but it's something that's fun. We call it a sandbox so that you'll keep all the operations guys out of this and they don't lose sleep over the bad things that we can do to it with all the creators. So it's a little bit firewall, but it allows us to innovate together. And I would really encourage you to take a closer look at it and see if this could help cohort 5 as you look at testing out your concepts. And I'm going to stop talking here. I'd like to show you a video that we recently played at one of our launch events. And I wanted to show you some of the alumni from, a lot of them were from the 5G Open Innovation Lab. Some of them came from the accelerator and some of the interesting work that we have done with them. And hopefully we'll get to feature some of you on cohort 5 in our future videos as well. Can we play this?
Halo is a very unique product where we bring an all-electric car without a driver inside to your doorstep. To do that, we need a very reliable network that we can trust.
We work with them to make sure the network is seamless for this type of operation.
Whoa, it's really, really good.
One of the things that 5G networks let us do is bring a more robust, higher fidelity type of entertainment to people than we could have done in the past.
Fans can be transported and have the experience that they can't have in 2 dimensions watching a game on television.
Instead of virtual reality being a part of the classroom, virtual reality becomes the classroom.
Let's say, for example, you are out there in the field and you need to connect to an expert remotely. Low latency and high bandwidth is a big deal.
This is the Drone Racing League. Our partnership with T-Mobile is allowing us to dramatically improve the fan experience. What we're building is our first 5G racing truck. And for the first time ever, we're going to be able to stream immersive HD content to our fans in real time on America's fastest 5G network.
I think this is just the beginning. We're only scratching the surface. I think sky's the limit for what that could look like in the future.
There you go. Hey, Jimmy, you can tell Intel that T-Mobile has a much better cool video.
I'll be sure to pass it along. Wonderful. Thank you. So John, I mean, where do we start? There's always a ton of questions to begin with. I'm going to do something unorthodox, which is to maybe turn it over to our teams in case they have any questions they'd like to ask first, and then I can certainly follow up. So I'll open it up to the team. If there's any questions,
sure, Jim. Hey, Jim, I'll take the offer.
Okay, great. Vikram, go ahead. Vikram's from
John,
Shibodi.
really good to see you guys again. Great presentation. I really liked a lot of those showcase. John, for you, I'd like your opinion, and I liked how you contrasted what T-Mobile has done in this space. But if I had to ask you, what is T-Mobile or John Saw's view on what enterprise 5G is and can look like in, say, 3-4 years? And if you think about it, right, with 4G, who could have imagined an app like Uber or me streaming Netflix, riding a bike? It's not for 4G. Applying that to those lens with enterprise 5G, just love your thoughts.
Hey Vic, I can go on all day. It almost sounded as if I knew you from before and asked you to plan this question. 5G is really designed for the enterprise. Less so for consumers, but it's designed for the enterprise. Like I said earlier, things like artificial intelligence, machine learning has been around for a while. The math has not really changed. What's changed is that with 5G, you can deliver it to more places in a more distributed way with a distributed cloud, right? So there's endless opportunities that you can do to basically any businesses that's looking to transform their enterprise should look at 5G as a tool, right, to get them there. As an example, we're working with a robotics company that builds exoskeletons for a living, but unlike what you saw in Iron Man the movie, their exoskeletons are connected by a huge fiber optic cable, so it's limited in how far they can actually run this. Imagine if they would have put 5G on these exoskeletons, then Jarvis really is real, and you can have Jarvis talk to Iron Man from like 1,000 miles away. Those are the style of work that we're doing. Healthcare, right? There's so much potential to disrupt with healthcare, right? And yesterday I was meeting with the CIO of a big entertainment industry, and they're looking at using 5G on our network to detect sound, right, of the stuff that's running in their theme parks. And if Space Mountain sounds different every day as they collect all the sound analytics real time, they know that something is wrong with that, right? And they have to fix it. So there's so many ideas out there, Vic, that I think, you know, if you look at just the horizontal enablers that 5G can bring to the table, you know, it's really up to the partners that we work with in enterprise to you know, come alongside them and see what can we disrupt together. You talk about Uber, right? I cannot wait to see who the Uber is in healthcare or the Uber in agriculture. Lots of potential.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vikram. Any other questions? Okay. So John, I'd love to start with, you know, you mentioned the 5G was built from the ground up, and I see it as very much a turning point for the CSP industry. And I've often shared this with you, that the playbook that worked in 4G LTE may not necessarily work in 5G. But that said, there is a transformation that's at play with service providers like yourselves, and that's going to take time to really play out. And so from your vantage point, I'd love to get your perspectives on how is T-Mobile thinking about that transformation opportunity, and where are you prioritizing investments? And like what you just shared with the edge services that your sandbox that you're playing with today, what advice would you give the teams in terms of how to approach T-Mobile on these transformative opportunities?
I see a two-part question there, and you know, I'll actually let Rick and others jump in as well. Okay. You know, 5G allows us to actually dare to explore different business models than just selling phone lines. I mean, we are world champions at selling phones. I think we sell more phones than anybody every quarter, right? And we have more than 100 million customers today. 5G allows us to engage our customers a little bit differently and look at different models. And because we have such a strong and big 5G footprint now, it dares us to go try new things, to even simple things are trying to compete in an adjacent space like broadband wireless to the home, right? We never had the capacity or the technology to do that, but today, we were the fastest growing home internet business in America last quarter, and not the cable companies, right? And there's so much disruption we can bring to that space with home internet, especially in rural markets where they are underserved and some of them have no broadband provider to only one, so there's no competition there. So that's a simple business case that we have never tried before that we're trying to do. I think if you look at, you know, back to my answer to Vic earlier on enterprise, right? That allows us to also look at capabilities of basically selling network as a service, security as a service, right? Capability as a service, right? So we're not just trying to sell enterprises a connection, right? We're not just, in fact, you know, we're looking at advanced network services with private networks and private edge, right? What we're really after as well is what runs on top of it that we can bring a value add to the customer, right? You want AI, machine learning, how do we make that happen for you? Right, most enterprises don't have the patience nor the capability to do all that, yet they have the vision to transform the businesses. So with 5G, it allows us to actually explore new ways of engaging our customers, even on the consumer side, right? We can bring a more immersive experience to our customers, right? Either with a more immersive type of gaming, or with different wearables, a different compute platform beyond the smartphones, right? How do we engage our customers that way rather than just sell them a phone subscription? So that has opened up a whole new opportunities for us. With the second part of the question, how do you startups work with us? And I think that's part of the reason why we're all here. Yeah. Right. And like I said earlier, you know, it's not easy for startups to get, you know, time with big corporations. I used to work in a startup as well as a second employee, and it's not easy to get a time of day from anyone. And that's why, you know, labs like the Open Innovation Lab gives startups an opportunity to actually interact with a T-Mobile, with a Microsoft, with an Intel, right? And my advice to them is you need to be patient. You also need to understand the pain points for what some of these big corporations are looking for, right? What is it that you can help them solve? Selfishly, what we really need from startups is your cool ideas, right? Help me engage my customers better by together. Can we offer them something that they don't have before, whether it's a consumer use case or an enterprise use case, right? Rick, anything that?
Yeah, so in terms of working with us, for us internally, every startup is like our own startup within T-Mobile. And so we do our best to give you guys the broadest exposure, both in terms of access to technical teams and business development. But it's difficult on the business development side. So there are things that can kind of rocket you to the front here. We have this network, as John described, but we don't believe there's market perception of our network. So anytime that we can come up with an opportunity to show off T-Mobile's network through one of the startups, we'll usually jump on it. And what the advantage for you is we've got a much bigger PR voice than you do. So it's great publicity for you. On the business development front, the best case scenario is if you have an enterprise client, you're ready to do a proof of concept and you need a connectivity solution, bringing us into an enterprise as your partner actually is a great way to open doors at T-Mobile for Business that may open future doors at T-Mobile for Business. They have a lot of noise to deal with. So anytime that we can bring in a new enterprise client or a new position in a client, that helps. And then John talked about having a 5G Edge sandbox. That's a great way to get to work with you guys and get to know you, and for you to be leading edge in terms of understanding how to connect to our network. And then lastly, we've launched the Developer Edge. So we are building a capability set for developers to be able to build on our network. And some of the services like in this cohort would be great matches for that. So we can actually put you into our service stack for developers. It's burgeoning, but assuming that it takes off, that's a great place to be.
Actually, you just reminded me, Rick. So just, I think 2 weeks ago, Neville and I announced the 5G Hub. It's 24,000 square foot of developer space to work with creators and startups. We have all sorts of network capabilities in there, private network slicing, all different flavors of our spectrum available for you to test. It's not our part of our lab, but this is a dedicated area to work with innovators and startups. So as you make progress with the Open Innovation Lab, perhaps the next step beyond that is to invite you to our hub and take your capabilities to the next level of testing. I know the Open Innovation Lab have a lab in a GIX building as well that we can certainly do the same thing. But we also have the hub. We're trying to do what we can to make it less friction for you to work with big companies. So the 5G Hub is a space that we have just announced, and we are inviting people to come, companies to come work with us and test with us. Right now, we actually have a self-driving car in there that we're testing, holograms we're bringing in that we're testing. So we would love to have some of you participate, whether using our Sandbox Edge, the Dev Edge, the GIX lab that Jim has, or even our hub. So lots of opportunities. I think Charles Nagy, you put your hand up, and then
I was going to say, Charles, you had a question?
Yeah, I do. So thank you very much for the talk. And you just sort of recently mentioned that with T-Mobile's deployment of the network, you guys want to make sure that all that equipment is really good and promising to consumers, but you guys are looking at the things that are running on the network. So I'm curious to find out what your plans are to make applications more network aware or 5G aware. What are you guys putting in place to really bring in that next generation application that doesn't just use the network for connectivity, but uses the network interactively?
Charles, that's a good question. That's part of the motivation behind announcing the Dev Edge platform, where our vision is to give you access to some network APIs that gives you awareness in terms of either location, time, or even network conditions. We just announced that as well. That's the same 5G Forward event that we just had. I think it was 2 weeks ago. We can certainly send you more information on. In fact, we're giving away free kits to the first 1,000 folks that shows an interest. But the whole idea, Charles, in that case, is to make our network more of a help to your application than just a connectivity. At the same time, though, we also need to make sure that we also protect our network so that it doesn't expose our network to increased risk as well, especially with the concerns for security. So that's what the DevEdge platform is, and we would certainly love for you to try it out and to work with you and understand actually what sort of network awareness that you would look for in your application, Charles, right? And how best can we expose that?
Yeah, we actually provide a platform that enables network awareness. So we'd love to compare notes and see how your platform compares to our, and see if there's any.
I would love to learn more about it and probably get you in touch with the guy that's running the platform called Roy. Look, the DevEdge platform is nothing proprietary about what we're doing. We're just trying to make it easy and frictionless for creators to get on. If you have solved most of the problems we're trying to solve and make it easier, we'd love to take a closer look at it, Charles. That's the whole idea why we have the Open Innovation Lab.
Charles, you're on our short list for the introductions to the DevEdge platform. We just wanted to get a little further along with you guys.
Okay.
That's coming.
Perfect.
Actually, Rick probably knows who you guys represent. Charles, which company are you with?
Shibodi.
Okay. And Vic?
Shibodi.
Yeah, Shibodi. We're same team.
Okay. All right, perfect. There you go.
Yeah, we have a meeting with Shibodi coming up next week. So
there you
yes,
go.
We're doing a technical session with you guys this Tuesday.
Yep, that's right.
Perfect.
Raj from Avisha, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I see the yellow flickering, so it looks like you were going to ask a question.
Yeah, I mean, actually, we had a conversation, John, with your team. I think it was.
Hey, Raj, which company are you with, Raj?
Avisha.
Avisha.
Okay.
Yeah, and because it's sort of in the same area where we provide this concept called an application slice.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a way to enable an application to manage their deployment on multiple edges, but it also provides a sort of, it's a go-between between the network and the application. So it's a Kubernetes native concept. And so it's like as if you took your applications and you put them in different edges, but they look like as if they're in one virtual cluster, but
okay.
from the Kubernetes standpoint. And so, but the beauty of this is that it'll allow you to abstract out, so because these application guys, they want a quick way to get access to, say, low latency or whatever the actual use case, our workload placement, for low latency, for example, and then provide the automation. We provide that automation for that, and then can take advantage of whatever your network offers, and make it accessible to the application in an easy way to consume. And it can have different of your applications separated from each other with a true multi-tenancy that can cut across clusters. So the good thing about that is, especially on the edge, or say the far deep edge, as they say, you might have a very small device with not much of a footprint, but yet you want to have the ability to have multiple customers and isolated from each other. So that is essentially the multi-tenancy that we provide. It's a
interesting
horizontal way. Yeah.
Raj, this sounds like a very interesting concept. I'm sure our network folks would love to learn more about this. I mean, at least from my level at 30,000 feet, right? We talk a big talk about edge compute as an industry. That there's so much hype around it, but nobody's be able to explain to an end user, which is the enterprises, that what do you do when you have it? And it's basically all these capabilities, right? How do you optimize your edge cloud versus your hyperscaler cloud, public cloud, private clouds? And where do you run the applications? How do you run it, right? Things like split rendering, does it work, right? And capabilities like that. So it sounds like, Raj, with what you guys are doing, that is exactly what I'm saying, right? What value-added services can we add as T-Mobile and some of you guys, right, to offer to our enterprise customers? Right.
Raj, maybe one of the best ways to help when meeting with T-Mobile, orchestration is something that I don't think anybody's really figured out. And it seems to me that this is a way to create efficiency in orchestration. So we're not replicating the same applications in every single edge server. So maybe the best way, I've been thinking about your company, and I think maybe the best way to present it is efficiency and orchestration.
Yes.
Because that is one of the biggest problems that we're going to have to tackle as a company in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. In fact, we are very much aligned also, with the MCO efforts, the edge multi-cluster cloud orchestration. That vision from, I think, sponsored by Intel, is very much aligned with what we are doing, and and we were happy to see that, actually, even though we didn't originally work on that, but it so happened after we spoke to Intel that, yeah.
You're not giving points to Carolyn over to Intel, are you?
Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez. You guys are gonna get me in trouble.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point.
Awesome.
Thank you, Raj. That's good insights.
Thank you.
So John, we've talked about private enterprise networking for a little while in past sessions, and it's safe to say I think that it's a growing market. You had mentioned private enterprise networking as a consideration for T-Mobile. Do you mind sharing how you guys are evaluating that opportunity? Kind of where you are in that journey?
Yeah, I don't want to pre-announce anything. So it is certainly an area that we are looking at, and with private networks, the thing is, private networks, it doesn't make sense without a private edge. People want to build a private network because they want to get access to the cloud faster and want to run all this horizontal enablers that I spoke about, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of our advanced network services that hopefully you'll hear some news soon, right? But what I'm more interested in, Jim, is the so what, right? You build a private network with an enterprise customer, you bring a private edge. What is the value add? How can we help them take their business to the next level with that, right?
Sure.
Capabilities like what Raj is talking about, right? To be able to do a multi-cloud optimization orchestration across, the edge versus the cloud is important, right? So that's when you earn your keep as a network provider to an enterprise, right? Basically, telecom as a service, security as a service, network as a service capabilities, endless ideas that I'm sure a lot of the cohort 5 folks are actually trying to look at, right? That's what I'm really interested in. Right? Building a private network either with a Nokia and Ericsson is a small piece of the pie, right? Getting somebody else to do the systems integration is another small piece of the pie, right? And again, no private network is really private. It's not an island. It has to get seamless connectivity to the macro network, and that's what we can provide as an offering as well, to provide a seamless experience. But there's also just a small piece of the pie, right? The bigger piece of the pie is the value-added services that you run on top of it. And this is where we need help as a company with all the cool ideas that you guys have.
Yep, agreed. I want to circle back on that, but Srini from Clip had a question. So Srini, feel free to ask a question.
Hey, John and team, thank you so much for the talk. I'm Srini from Clip Automation. We operate in the operations technology, the shop floor space.
Yeah.
We provide solutions for manufacturing. and connectivity solutions for manufacturing. So, John, you talked about how T-Mobile was the largest provider of 5G technology today, and manufacturing is very interested in 5G, but they don't quite understand how it's applied. And it's for us like Clip to take 5G to manufacturing and tell them here's what the benefit is, and we are on that journey. But what I'd like to understand is what percentage of success are you seeing in adopting 5G from the shop floor perspective? And can you share some thoughts on T-Mobile's initiatives there?
Yeah, I think, we need to match you up with our folks in T-Mobile for Business. We have industry experts there, and some of them are focused on factory automation. All I can tell you is that it's still a very nascent area at the moment in terms of influencing the industry 4.0 capabilities. Let's call it that way, right? Bringing AI and machine learning down straight to the shop floor. Couple of startups we're working with, like robotic companies and stuff like that. But I would get Rick to sounds like you should really have a conversation with our industry experts in the enterprise space, and maybe we can together do a proof of concept to show off the capability of what a smart factory could look like with 5G capability. There's a whole bunch of opportunities with computer vision, inspection for quality, real time, and anything that removes all this huge fiber optic cables on factory floors is going to help if you can bring up a 5G capability to it. A lot of cases, I think in your case with the shop floor 5G, you're talking about a private 5G network as well, right? Because they probably won't want to rely on the macro network coverage from the outside, right? When you talk about private 5G network, 5G edge, and then what can you run on top of it? That's what I was just talking about earlier, right? You need basically the hardware element, the software element, as well as the value-added services. So it's certainly an area ripe for disruption, especially now folks are talking about bringing more manufacturing back to this country. And if we do that, right, we need to make sure that we arm our factories with more, with much better capabilities than before, including all the industry 4.0 automation, right? And that's where 5G can help.
Absolutely. Thanks for clarifying that. Sean was also on the call, and I were in Dallas, and we just went to like 7 factories this week, and all of them are reshoring. They're bringing in automation, and they're bringing in more manufacturing, but then they're all restricted by, the infrastructure and the IT infrastructure around to enable automation. So there's definitely a lot of potential in where 5G promises can come in. I think, as you said, we have to understand the solution providers, where Ericsson and Nokia and others fit from an antenna and a hardware perspective, and then the private MEC solution that you talked about, John. Also, I think there's definitely synergies there, and would love to talk to your team.
Sure. If you were to go visit Austin, and I'm not trying to run a free advertising for Ericsson, but they manufacture the radios, I think, in the Austin area, and they actually trying to get their own dog food by automating that factory into a industry 4.0 factory with 5G enabled inside, right? With drones and a lot of automation using a private 5G. So that gives you a glimpse into the future in terms of what's the art of the possible.
Yeah. Thank you. Cool. Thank you.
The issue Clip is going after is when you have a factory floor, there's usually several robot and equipment providers, and so they provide a hardware layer on top of that to coordinate it all together, because you've got multiple vendors in the floor, and then they want that to run on a wireless network to control everything.
Perfect. Yeah. And there is a small robotics company, like I mentioned, that we're working with that potentially could use a solution from Clip to do that. They're looking at now energizing their robots with 5G and remove all the fiber optic cables. Their use case is not just on the shop floor, but also for military as well. So,
GM, did you happen to hear that last bit?
I did. Yes, I did.
Okay,
Very
good.
interesting.
John, so GM Ogles from MetaPower, formerly actually of Microsoft, but MetaPower's technology is about wirelessly powering IoT devices, and while simultaneously, providing connectivity, moving data between those devices. And in fact, they have one of their test units at the 5G hub. If you hadn't had a chance to see it, I'd love to maybe help coordinate that at some point.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Josh, did you have a question?
Yeah, John, you've talked about the opportunities. What do you see are the biggest challenges or obstacles to enterprise adoption, to this widespread accomplishing the vision that you've laid out?
Well, I think we need to partner with the enterprise to really understand what the real pain points are, and not try to force feed them with 5G is the best thing since sliced bread. They're not going to buy it. They're not going to enter up the money if they don't see it a business benefit, right? It all comes down to what can we do to take the business to the next level, and every enterprise is different. If we focus on the horizontal enablers again, right, the ability to bring edge compute, the ability to build a private network with 5G, the ability to do a private edge, the ability to bring different quality of services, right? If we can somehow, right, throw out all those buzzwords, Josh, and explain to our enterprise partners what this means for them to take their business to the next level, I think you will see, a higher rate of adoption in terms of what that's needed for them to solve the business. Like I said, some of the requests that we're getting back from some of the enterprises would surprise us because we thought they need 5G to do this, but they are coming back and say, hey, we could use 5G for sound analytics as an example, right, to figure out whether our trains are running reliably, right? Never thought of it that way, right? So I think it all comes down to being a trusted advisor to the enterprises and help them solve what's the immediate pain point that they have. There's no silver bullet, no shortcut to it.
Yeah. What's also interesting in that, though, John, is as you're solving those problems, your network becomes increasingly more of a platform over time, right? Because one problem solved for X enterprise could be other problems solved for other enterprises, and before you know it, you start providing a set of services around solving common problems and use cases.
Exactly.
It's really interesting. Good. That's fantastic. I'd like to make sure that if there are any other questions from the teams or other partners, please feel free to chime in. Okay. One of the questions, John, that I had of you is, we had our board meeting last week for Q1 and got the note from you saying, hey, we're also very interested in Web3, metaverse, and that seems to be the buzz. But as always with yourself, there's some thoughtful thinking behind those questions. And so I wanted to see if you wanted to provide us some background and context around your interests for Web3 and metaverse and how you guys are thinking about those opportunities.
Certainly, I think the metaverse and Web3 are interrelated, and if you look at them, if you try to remove all that hype, right now they're going through a huge hype cycle, right?
Correct.
But if you look beyond that, I think there is some good technology behind blockchain that we can leverage, right? And our interest is trying to understand Web3, right, in the context of the impact it has on telecom or on telcos like us. Right, and so if you bring in the metaverse, obviously we've all heard about metaverse. Some companies are even have changed their names recently to show their focus on that. But a couple of thoughts I have. One is that the metaverse is dead without 5G. I'm not just saying to provoke your attention. The metaverse is not going to go past your living room the way you buy your Oculus headset for your kid, right? If there's no 5G. Right, you're not going to be able to do all the things of augmented and virtual reality with a metaverse if you cannot follow you around wherever you go. Right, so 5G is going to be a critical enabler for the metaverse. Right, if our customers are taking the metaverse seriously in the sense that they actually want to do transactions in there, they want to own assets in the metaverse as well as the real universe, then we need to bring in Web3 concepts like blockchain, cryptocurrencies, NFTs. Right. And what I'm trying to understand for T-Mobile is what is the intersection between some of these Web3 concepts and a telecom company, right? So there are 4 areas that I'm interested in. One is identity management, right? How do we assert identity a bit differently than the way we do it today, right? Each of you wake up, you log into your Facebook account, your Gmail account. You don't own your identity. Somebody else owns it. You just don't care. Well, someday you might care, right? But I'm trying to figure out with blockchain capability, can we assert identity and ownership of things differently, right? And the opportunity I see is that there's the one thing that we all carry around that we do not stay far away from is our smartphone, right? Yeah. Every day when you look into your Face ID, you are asserting your identity on your smartphone. Why cannot we use it for a lot of other things? To assert identity and assert title, the things that you own, digital as well as real. So those are some of the opportunities we look at. Right, NFTs is gotten a bad name because people are buying crazy shit with it. But if you look at behind it, the technology behind NFTs, it can be used for a lot of things that we are interested to explore, right? A tokenized economy. What can we do with our customers to engage our customers more with a tokenized economy, right? People are talking about mining for Bitcoins. Can we incentivize our customers to help us get better coverage by giving them the ability to mine for tokens, right? Crazy ideas like that, right? And the third area is basically, the metaverse itself, right? Digital assets, digital presence. If our customers are going to be spending a lot of time in a metaverse, then we better figure out how to set up a virtual store in Decentraland or in Sandbox to engage our customers with care and things we can sell them, right? Our IT team is focused on capabilities to do what they call BOPUS, buy online, pick up in store, right? Best Buy has it, all the stores have it. What about bumpers? Buy on the metaverse, pick up in store, right? So what does that mean for the future of retail when we talk about stuff like that? And then the fourth area we're interested in is in gaming. Not just mobile gaming, but play to X, which is an emerging field as well. Play to earn, play to keep, right? Play to win, right? Powered by blockchain, right? In the gaming industry. So lots of potentials, and that's why, Jim, I wanted you to think about it with the Open Innovation Lab. Is that can we bring in future some early thinking and clever ideas on Web3 as it intercepts with some of the big challenges we see with identity management, with gaming, with ownership of stuff, and it's a growing area.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. No, the metaverse in gaming was obvious to me. The NFT and the identity piece, John, wasn't so much, and so I appreciate the context and the background. That makes a ton of sense. Yeah. Okay. Well, we are almost near the end of time. I will open it up to the forum in case there was one last question before we wrap up. No? Okay. Well, John, given this is our 5th session, it's been a delight to have you again. Going back to our very first session to where we are today, it's safe to say the conversations we had in session 1 are very different from the conversations we have today. I think session 1 was more of like deers and headlights. Yes, we need to think differently. I think in session 5, we've collectively learned so much that now your theses are starting to get a lot more tighter around areas of interest. And so it's been really fun to see that progression together. So thank you very much for your time, and of course for all your support behind the scenes for the lab.
And likewise, Jim, and you do a fabulous job with Open Innovation Lab. We are huge fans, and we are huge supporters of this. And to the members of Cohort 5, we are really looking forward to working with you. And some of the folks on my team here, this is all they do at T-Mobile. This is not a side hobby or a career growth opportunity for them during lunchtime. This is what we do. We want to work with the smartest people in the universe to help us further the use of our network.
Excellent. Well, thank you, my friend, and a beer and some wings, hopefully soon for us.
Have
a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Take care. All right.
Cheers, guys. See ya. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.